Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second instalment of the Northwest Counties podcast. We call it a podcast. We'll get into that in a minute. On my left here, where I'm looking, is League Media Manager, Mr. Gary Langley. So, welcome, Gary, again.
Thank you, Martin. Pleasure to be here. What an interesting situation we found ourselves in last. We put something out as a filler and got amazing feedback off it. So carry on again until our new media guy comes in and takes it over.
Yeah, so we're here again. Your camera looks a lot better than mine. I look very pale on mine, to be honest. It's quite a new computer. You think it'd be good? But...
I spend a lot of time in Blackpool. I get a tan.
Is that what it is? Yeah, so I'm Martin Fallon, results coordinator for the Northwest Counties League, Runcorn Town secretary, and
all of the above.
Other stuff as well. Results. Yeah, I've said results. Some of the jobs as well. But we're here to talk through this weekend's games for what date is it? The 4th of December. We're in December. Have you got your advent calendar, Gary?
Oh yeah. It's been already commandeered though. I had the audacity to buy a very fine chocolate one, but unfortunately, a what?
Lint chocolate.
No, I can't afford a Lint chocolate. Behave. It's like Cadbury's.
Oh, Cadbury's.
Yeah.
You got a frozen one, didn't you?
No. Could stick it in the freezer though. That would work. Well, it would melt all the paper off when it came out. Tried that once before. You just end up with a plastic tray covered in foil with little chocolates in it. Takes away the illusion. It's not good.
No, but if you keep the little ones going for a while, they'd have to like.
That's what we need. We need Northwest Counties League advent calendar. We were just saying off camera there that we need league bobble hats and league attire, but why not a league advent calendar? Let's go down that road as well.
Yeah. League lolly ices. Oh.
What are the ice lollies?
Lolly ices. Definitely. So
anyway, we need league merch.
Yeah. So like you said earlier, Gary, hello, let me just mute my phone because we don't want people ringing me up or disturbing me. Why'd you have to unlock your phone in order to mute it? It's a bit random, isn't it? Forgive me, by the way. I've got a bit of a cold today. I woke up and it was a bit sniffly, so nothing I could do about that, unfortunately.
What type of sniffle have you got, Martin?
Just there and my sinuses.
Any other symptoms? Oh, not those type of symptoms, mate. Don't go down that road.
No. Just blow my nose.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So yeah, as you alluded to earlier, we launched this last week just as a bit of a test, and it got good feedback. But because we launched it, we just sort of concentrated on the Premier Division. So we're shuffling it around a bit and basically picking 2 games each from each division.
I think that works, Martin.
So there'll be 6, 2, 4, 6, 12. Yeah, count that up. You wouldn't think I had a maths degree, would you? So
yeah, but you're drugged up.
Yeah, I am.
I think it works. As you say, I think we did it initially as a Premier League preview, just as a filler to get the channel going again for when the new media guy comes in. But it went down really well, so it's worth keeping it moving until we get the new media guy in. New
media guy, Gary?
New media guy, Martin, yeah.
Oh,
would you like to reveal an exclusive or two?
No, you can. You head up media, so you can.
It's not my gig, is it? We've got a couple of chaps coming in. We did interviews recently for media, media officer, because ultimately I would like to take a back seat and go and do whatever else it is I can for the league, but obviously still steer things. Martin's messed about with his lighting there. The whole room's gone. But anyway, it's never really been a full-time gig for me. I've fresh out of development, other things that I need to be cracking on with. So anyway, we have appointed a new media officer, a chap called Alex Thrower, who is a good all-rounder. Very impressed in the interviews with him. Very talented guy. But we'll send out an introduction in due course. We didn't stop there though, because but we interviewed some really high caliber candidates as well. So my days really are numbered in so many ways. But we've also brought in a guy called Jay Cooper, who's a current Prestwich Hayes media guy. And he's coming in as a club journalist. We'll be doing a lot of articles, interviews, and sort of features, working with the likes of Alex to produce more content. So hopefully we can freshen things up, keep things going. But obviously we'll be expanding into more video and audio and things like that. And Martin and I will still be keeping our proverbial hands in as well. So we'll be doing stuff as guidance, and we'll still pop up every now and again to annoy people. So it's all good in the hood.
Yeah.
But obviously, we can focus on other things that we can do for the league, and of course our club commitments.
Yeah, and I definitely concur with you. You know, Alex and Jay both come across really well. You know, and I think they'll be a tremendous asset to the league. You know, even just like on the website, getting some articles written on clubs. You know, doing a lot of the stuff like Ian Templeman did years ago. He was really good at getting, you know, going around to clubs once a week, wasn't he, and stuff like that, and getting an article about where they're at. And I think, you know, clubs are more accessible than they've ever been these days with Zoom and Microsoft Teams and stuff like that. You're able to have communications like we're having now, and you know, we should hopefully be able to get in touch with clubs more than, you know, what we've been able to, really.
No, I agree. I mean, with the best will in the world, we tried and tried to hint to clubs. But like in the olden days, clubs would come to us to give us the articles. We put them out on our league channels through website and everything else, and then you get picked up by local newspapers and a non-league paper and so on, and they still do. But because times are changing, everyone's mega busy. We don't get as much stuff sent through as we used to, so we need to go and chase. When we chase, it's always good anyway.
I think a lot of it though is because clubs are concentrating on their own social media nowadays, and you know.
Oh no, listen, I agree with you. It's just, as we found out, Martin, we won't put something out on the league website. It goes a lot quicker. It gets picked up by more people and so on.
Yeah.
But you know, some like to concentrate on the local areas. That's grand. When it goes on the league website, it tends to get picked up regionally and more, because obviously the non-league paper tends to pick up most of what we put out as well. So anyway,
the amount of people viewing the website, as we know, from a Saturday night, it's ridiculous this season because it crashes every Saturday night.
Well, it comes close to crashing in the week, but obviously because it doesn't.
It does some weeks.
Everyone thinks it's everyone thinks it's tickety-boo, but it goes red hot in the week as well, certain days. You know, the likes of when we put player movements on there back as well, it really ramps up then. But particularly in the morning time, we get a lot of hits, 7 to 8 in the morning. It's chock-a-block, and in the evening when people are doing the evening commute home, people seem to be commuting again. But anyway, it's we've got two good lads coming in, possibly a third as well, but we'll talk about that another day because there's a couple of issues there. The scope for more as well, but
yeah,
let's get these guys in, get them settled. Welcome to the whole wonderful world of the North West Counties League,
and hopefully we can get at least one of them on this podcast next week. So
hopefully they can host that works. They can host it. Oh yeah, it'll be all sorts. When I end up in the top centre, Mr. Martin Fallon. Yeah. Anyway, should we crack on with league stuff?
So basically, we're going to look at the Premier Division first. There is, I'm going to read out the games basically. Start with Saturday the 4th of December 2021. So we have AFC Liverpool versus Padiham, Avro versus Litherland Remica, Burscough versus Wythenshawe Town, Longridge Town versus Ashton Athletic, Lower Breck versus Runcorn Town, Macclesfield versus Aldrich Town, Northwich Victoria versus Charnock Richard, Prestwich Hayes versus Vauxhall Motors, Squires Gate versus Congleton Town, and Winsford United versus Skelmersdale United. So from that list of 10 games, Gary, your first pick, what stands out for you?
A lot of these reverse fixtures from the first weekend, Martin, as well.
From earlier in the season, yeah, we've reached halfway stage of the season now. Everybody's played each other at least once, so that was a tick in the box in place.
That's good.
Coronavirus ramped up again, which it looks like it might be doing, to be honest. But we won't go there. We know
Okay.
we know coronavirus listens to this podcast, so we won't mention it.
Watches it as well. For me, Martin, one of the first games that stood out to me was Bearscough, because they're hosting Wythenshawe Town this weekend. Now, Bearscough 5th in the table, but Wythenshawe Town are 3rd. Now, it's quite interesting because it is quite top. They're close at the top even in the Premier Division, because Wythenshawe Town are only 6 points behind Macclesfield, who are in 2nd place in the moment in the potential playoff spot. But Wythenshawe, they also top the form table for the division as well. They're unbeaten in the last 7 in all competitions. Bearsco's form now recently hasn't been great. I think they're down about 14th in the form table. Potentially a really big game this, because if Wythenshawe win that, they're really going to be snapping at the heels of the top 2. But if Bearscough win that, they're going to be snapping at the heels of Wythenshawe Town as well. I think Wythenshawe scored 9 goals in the last 2 league encounters. They had a 4-1 win at Padiham the other week. And before that, they'd won 5-1 at home against Longley Town, who earlier in the season were really decent.
They don't seem to win 1-0 Wythenshawe, do they? It's always 4s and 5s and stuff. You're like, wow. Really
good side as well. Now, I mean, they're really creative. I think Bearscough have only had 1 win in the last 6, but ironically that was against Charlotte Richard, who were also right up there near the top of the table. Yeah. So it's a massive game. I think not just for the neutrals, but a lot of clubs anywhere from say 10th up will be looking at that game to see what the crack is. But we'll see. I'm sure Macclesfield will have half an eye on that on the day as well. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Macclesfield, that's my first pick in my game, Maxfield versus Aldrich Town. Macclesfield, so impressive at home when you look at it. The home record, 12 games, 11 wins, 1 draw, which is phenomenal. It really is.
Can't argue with that, can you?
No.
And you think as well, because those clubs who are visiting backgrounds, they're going to be playing out of the skin because they're going to be wanting to win that game. So they're going to be putting all that effort in. And Mac is still holding them off, doing the business.
I've just thought of something I'm going to ask you shortly. I've just wrote it down. But yeah, they are impressive at home. They score a lot of goals. They've scored 30 in those 12 games. They've only let in 8. So, the rampant scorers. I think they scored 4 against a couple of teams, Bearscough, Litherland and Charnock. They've also hit 3 on a number of occasions. So, they're really prolific at home. But not just at home, in general, that they've won 8 and drawn 3 out the last 11 games in all competitions. So they're unbeaten in the last 11. And they're flying at the minute. Aldrich, you look at them and they're sort of the opposite at the minute, like you mentioned with Bearscough a minute ago. They've got no wins in the last 5 games. They've changed manager in that time as well, with Andy Clarkson going and Daniel Craig coming in for his second stint as manager.
Got a bit stale for them, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, they slipped down.
Gone.
Yeah, they slipped down to 11th in the table, but they are better away from home than they are at home. It seems to be they haven't got a bit of a problem at the Silent Night Stadium this season for some reason. So, I think 4 out of 15 wins at home, but away from home, 6 wins from 13, which, it's one every 2, which is not bad at all. They don't seem to score as many on the road as they do at home, but they're a lot tighter at the back. So it's quite an interesting game, that. The first meeting ended 2-1 to Macclesfield, so it was quite a close game. And I think this will be as well, to be perfectly honest with you. Aldrich won't be phased going there anyway.
I don't think they'll be phased, but for me, that's still a home win, really. But it'll still be a good game in the process.
Yeah.
Do you think Macclesfield have found a feet now? Do you think that they are happy in the North West Counties League with the style of play that there is? Because obviously they've got high profile coach, manager, and so on. Do you think that they've acclimatised well and they've been able to pick the bones out of how the Premier Division works? I think we've always said, there's a big difference between Division 1 and the Premier Division. But when you get to the likes of the Premier Division, you have to start playing a bit of real football. And I think they've obviously mastered that.
Yeah. No, yeah, they've definitely found their feet. Like I said, the 11 games unbeaten, and there's no reason why they can't go the rest of the season unbeaten. To be perfectly honest with you, you tend to get teams that go on to get promotion from this league. They put in a strong second half of the season, and Maxfield are perfectly set up to do that. Really. The only thing that I would say maybe stop them is they seem to add a lot of players all the time. The player turnover is huge. You normally get a higher player turnover if you're at the wrong end of the league, because you get a new manager coming in and he brings in his own players, and you end up using a lot of players, whereas they've used an awful lot of players considering they're up there. And usually the teams that are up there at the top of the leagues are quite a settled team, and they don't make many changes from week to week. So
it's quite interesting that. Yeah. I was having a chat with a Squires Gate fan the other day, who works with me up in Blackpool, and he was saying that obviously, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but when Mac have played a team, they tend to go and sign their best player, and that's the way it could appear. But obviously, there must be a lot more into that.
Yeah, but, they're looking higher. They've just signed someone from Cole. They've announced in the week they took somebody on loan from Atherton Collieries, who obviously a Northern Premier Division team these days.
This guy was saying to me, it actually opened my eyes a little bit. There's actually quite an interesting distribution of players on, because a lot of good players, established players at clubs, now signing for Mac. They're going there, they're doing well or not so well, as the case may be. Now they're being either put out on loan to other clubs, different clubs altogether, or they're now signing for other clubs. So the settled order of people at clubs, established figures, and in some cases iconic figures, they're certainly shaking up the so-called establishment. Yeah. Because players are going to end up all over the place. And that could be the case if Mac go up. You could find a lot of these players could potentially be jettisoned and end up all over the place.
Well, to me, it's the only thing that'll stop them going up is the tinkering. They're perfectly fine as they are. The players are showing they can do it in this league as they are. So, do they need to bring in others?
Well, they don't lack for motivation. But obviously, when they go up, if they go up, they're going to come across again a much tighter, much more strict level of play, with a lot of players who've been to the level that Mac are aspiring to get to. So they've got to start from scratch again.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, because it's, as we've seen from clubs who have really rocketed, there's only really Aldrich and Coles over the last decade or so who've really gone up and carried on that momentum. A lot of clubs tend to hit a sort of mid-table brick wall when they go up.
Well, to me, you find your level.
In
the football pyramid, you find your level. You look at FC United; they've reached a point where it's just struggling to get past now. So, similar South Shield. I know they're not our league, but they went from step 7 all the way up, then very, very quickly, and then it's suddenly they found the level. So
Fleetwood haven't done too bad.
No. But you always find your level, really.
Yeah, agreed.
So, anyway, your second game, Gary, in the Premier Division pick.
Yeah, speaking of teams who've been there and done that, we've got Northwich Victoria. We touched on them the other week about how we sort of expect them to have turned that corner now. Maybe they've bottomed out and they're going to try and look to go up. But they're hosting Charnock Richard this weekend. So, what a game that is. I think Charnock Richard, they're 4th in the table on 39 points at the moment. Ironically, Mark, is that little smile that's starting to appear there? Because Charnock Richard were beaten 4-2 last time out against, I think it was Runcorn Town, wasn't it, Martin?
It was, yeah.
Martin Fallon's Runcorn Town.
Thoroughly deserved win on the day.
Fair play. Obviously, Northwich Vics. By the way, why are they called the Trickies?
It's a tricky one, Gary.
Yeah. Anyway, they're 8th on 34 points. So they're quite away. I think they're about 13 points behind Macclesfield in second. So, as you touched on, we're in December, but are Northwich fix already sort of done this season? Even if they were to go on a mega run now, it'd be really hard to catch up the top two. But never say never. But it's, again, another massive game. It's when you look at the way the season's panning out, these big games are coming thick and fast. And that's a belter.
Yeah. Apparently, Northwich Victoria are known as several nicknames. Obviously, Vicks. Works
for me, that one. Yeah, I get that one.
Or the Vicks. But, like you say, the Trickies is a nickname initially given to them as an insult by local rivals, but they then adopted it as their own. So.
Not fair.
Maybe it's because they were tricky opponents, literally.
Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll give them that.
I don't know. So anyway, my second game is Squires Gate versus Congleton Town. So not much to separate them at all, to be honest. Gate are in 14th in the table, Congleton in 12th. So just one place between them. In the form guide, Gate in 9th, the Bears in 8th. So not really anything there. Both are unbeaten in the last 3 games. So, to me, it's going to be a very interesting, very close game, this one.
Clubs who maybe should be doing better as well, Martin.
Yeah, well, particularly Congleton. We banged on the podcast for about 7 years about Congleton and underachieving, to be perfectly honest. And the one time they did achieve was just happened to coincide with coronavirus coming, and that season got curtailed, which was unfortunate for them. But yeah, Squires Gate, they won 6 out of 17 at home, so they're not necessarily prolific at home. Looking at that stat, but they are unbeaten in the last 5 at home, so they will go into it with quite a lot of confidence. And those last 5 games, we've mentioned Maxfield, we've mentioned Wythenshawe Town. They've drew with both of them at home in the last 5 games. And they've also had a 4-2 win over Aldrich Town, which, I still regard Aldrich as a very tough opponent. So
I agree.
A 4-2 win over them, not to be sniffed at. Congleton, they're better away from home, like a lot of clubs are this season. It seems to be a weird trend in the Northwest Counties League this season. But of the last 9 away games, they've only lost 2. So, Congleton are doing well, and they're probably confident of a win this weekend, I suspect. One thing I have noticed, statistics-wise, 42 goals scored this season. They've only scored 6 in the opening half an hour.
Take a while to warm up then.
Yeah, but they've only conceded 6 in their opening half an hour too. So it's like they're very tight at the back. They must just sit back, put up a brick wall or something to assess their opponents, and then wham.
Park in the bus.
Yeah, weird that, isn't it?
It is, but there must be a method in the madness behind it. Maybe it's a tactical thing. You ease your way into the game, lads. Warm up. Let's not concede, but let's get our feet, and then when we've got our feet, let's go and bang in 7 goals in the second half.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're late to a Congleton game this season, don't worry about it. You've probably not missed anything.
You'll be me.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our picks from the Premier Division. Like we said, we're only going to do 2 each, so we can get through all the divisions this week. So we'll move on to the First Division. Do you want to do North or do you want to do South?
Right, let's do North, only because on my little prompt sheet, it's the next one I've got on my list.
Okay, so First Division North this weekend sees AFC Darwin against St Helens Town. Big game, that. Oof. I've not focused on that one. Perhaps I should have done. You have? Oh, there you go. Then. Ashton Town versus Bury. Campion versus Steeton. Chadderton versus Bacup Borough. Cleatamore Celtic against Ilkley. Daisy Hill AFC Blackpool. Golker United against Holker Old Boys. Nelson versus Atherton LR. And Pilkington against South Liverpool.
That's where I'm going.
Is it?
Yeah. Just a little footnote there as well. Watched Campion last weekend. It was about -23 at South Liverpool with a brisk breeze. And they were really good, to be fair. I'd watched them earlier in the season away at Garstang. Totally different side, really good. So Don't expect Campion to be in any trouble.
Oh, is that one of your picks?
No, I've chose 2 different games altogether.
Oh, go on then. Hit me with your first one. Well, it's going to be AFC Darwin St. Helens. You've just alluded
I
to
could
it.
mix it up a bit, Martin. Yeah. No,
are you going to?
No, I'm too tired. Been in work all day. I don't do surprises. But speaking of surprises, last weekend, St Helens Town arguably sprung a massive one. They got the first league win of the season. So fair play to them.
So on this podcast, when we went St Helens Town versus Golka, that's a home banker every day of the week. We're completely wrong.
You're very welcome, St Helens Town. So anyway, they won 3-2 over Golka. It's a silent L, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Golka.
I keep forgetting that. St Helens Town at the moment with 13 points from safety, potentially safety. Goal difference of -53. So I don't know. They've recently brought in 2 guys, Phil Clark and Curtis Lopez, as assistant managers as well. That was a few weeks back. So whether this is part of the benefits of that as well, I'm not sure. But still,
you've got to take massive confidence. Got to take massive confidence from that win against the league leaders, really.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But they'll probably start asking themselves the question, why haven't they done it before now? But I'm sure they'll take it anyway. But I don't know. I think for me, this could be, if St Helens can't win again at Darwin, I think a few people's eyebrows will be raised, and I think there'll be a couple of clubs above them who might start wincing a little bit. They're only 2 places behind Darwin.
Well, as a follow-up game, it's one you'd pick, really, isn't it? A team
absolutely, yeah.
Struggling as well, really, AFC Darwin at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, they're in 17th. They're probably, I mean, we discussed last week, didn't we? Where realistically we thought that there might be 1, maybe 1.5 down out of each of the Division 1, perhaps, maybe different permutations, even though it's technically 3.
Yeah.
But Darwin are that third from bottom club. They won't be happy where they are. But are they in trouble as well? You know, it's. Are we looking at 2 sides, Martin, who are potentially in trouble, or are we looking at St Helens Town with the work to do?
So, what? St Helens Town got work to do?
Are we looking at are Darwin safe, even though they're in a bit of a pickle, or is it all for St Helens Town to just try and get away from that bottom spot?
No, they've lost a lot of games this season, Darwin. To be honest,
I agree.
You know, they've had no draws in the league, which is strange.
Oh yeah, they either go for it or they wave it off. Yeah. I just think this is such a massive game for both clubs, even though it's 2 clubs in the bottom 3. That's what makes it for me, especially in December as well. You know, it's a chance for either or, but it'll be interesting to see.
Well, St Helens, if they've got any ambition of getting away from that bottom spot, they really need to build on last week's win. You know, the talk in the dressing room is done, isn't it? Basically,
absolutely, yeah.
You won last week. Go out there, prove it's no fluke. You know, Darwin's a 3G pitch. They play at home on a 3G pitch, so they know exactly what the surface is going to be like and stuff. So there's no reason they can't build on it, to be honest.
Massive surprise as well for Golka, though. It's you would imagine they'd be quite disappointed, but if we've always said this about the counties, haven't we? On the day, any club can really beat anyone. We've seen some really interesting results over many years, but even seasoned heads would have looked at that one on Saturday and tipped a hat.
Yeah, because they were league leaders, and as a result of that loss, they've dropped to 3rd. It's that close at the top between the top 3. They seem to be interchanging every game, really. But I'll come on to that because that's my pick of the games, really. Golka United against Holker Old Boys.
Fire away.
It's by far the Northwest Counties game of the day across all 3 divisions for me. Golka, they're in 3rd place, so they're on 45 points. Holker Old Boys are top on 46 points. So you've got Bury sandwiched in between them. Bury unbeaten this season, and it's a tremendous fight for who's going to get the automatic promotion spot. And at the minute, there's no let up. You're gonna get the odd shock like last week, but you know it's who blinks first really between them three. So yeah, this weekend, as I say, Golka versus Honka. Someone's going to drop points.
You keep going, Martin. I think Just Eat have just delivered.
Okay, I'll keep going. So yeah, Golka. You know, they had a shock 3-2 loss last time at St Helens. Is it a blip? Well, we'll find out. They've had 14 out of the last 20 league games. They've won, so it could be just a blip. They've lost just 3 league games this season, but they've also scored quite well in those games. I think they scored 31 goals in 11 games at home. So you know that's almost 3 a game. While they've only conceded 12, which you know what's that? Just over 1 a game. So you on paper potentially go for Golka. However, Holger Old Boys. For me, the surprise package this season, they've never really shown what promotion ambition for the last. I think it was when 1874 Northwich went from the first division to the Premier Division, which is quite a number of years ago now. They've lost just 3 times all season. One of them being in the Vars, so they've only lost 2 league games, and they've got a tremendous away record. Really, they're unbeaten on 12 games on the road. So they've got the best away record in the league, which I personally think they're really up for away games so they can have a legendary party on the bus on the way home. That's what I think. And this as well, it could well be a curtain raiser for a First Division North playoff final later in the season. This, so
yeah. I think it's great seeing the likes of Holker up there. You know, yeah, as you say, for a while they just sort of functioned, but they put a lot into the ground over the summer as well.
Yeah,
it's looking top notch there, and they're going for it. So fair play.
Well, I've not been there yet. I'll be going on the ground hop in March.
Oh, nice plug, like that. Yeah, excellent. So it's a character building away trip.
Yeah,
make sure that you got a tray of skull underneath the coach when you go up. And you'll have an awesome day.
Oh, I can't wait. But yeah, the locals certainly get behind Golka. They've got an average send of 309 this season, which is only Bury that's better than that in the division. So yeah, it's a tremendous game that. So your second? Are you okay to eat anyway?
Eat. Yeah, so I'm all good, mate. I'm all good.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, no flies on me when it comes to down and a quick burger. But anyway, I digress. Chadderton versus Bacup Borough.
Oh, yeah.
Two traditional Northwest County stalwarts come head-to-head this weekend. Chadderton had a great start, but I think they've gone off the boil recently. I think they dropped to 9th in the table. And the last game was a fortnight back. And that was a respectable 3-0 win over AFC Blackpool, which for Chadderton stopped the rot. So obviously Chadderton, is this the turning point for them to start pressing back up the table again? But obviously they come up against Brent Peters, Bacup Borough, who are in 6th at the moment and doing really well. It's good to see Bacup having a good season again. I know they were close a few seasons back to going up, and then they sort of had a couple of sort of mediocre seasons by their high standards.
Well, I mentioned the top 3 are running away with it. You know, there's 2 other playoff spots there for teams to aim at, really.
But it's interesting when you look at the likes of that division. You know, I think the gap between 3rd and 4th is 8 points.
Yeah,
I think it's 8 points. Yeah, I think it is actually, and already that looks massive. So you've already got a mini table at the top of the division, and then a few places further back as well. You've got another little ledge.
Well, it's the beauty of playoffs because you know AFC Blackpool are 5th at the minute, but you could be down as low as 10th and going, you know what, we can still get 5th. Everything's to play for at the minute. So
agreed.
You know,
but looks a good game that for me. Though. I mean, obviously, Bacup tend to do quite well on the road as well. But for me, that's just a proper encounter there between 2 good sides who potentially are coming good again. But obviously, Chadderton, if they get a win, they'll ruin a few parades going forward. But for me, it's there for Bacup to take. If Bacup win this one, they're really gonna turn some heads this season. I think we'd see Bacup really going for it this season. This could be their season to go up.
Well, yeah, you'd bet on Brent in any playoff matches, wouldn't you? Really, if they're in it as a one-off game, yeah.
His tactical analysis is spot on. His game prep spot on. You certainly wouldn't cross him either. He knows what he wants from his players, and he tells them. If he doesn't get it, he tells them. So he's going to be.
He locks him in the dressing room for 2 hours after the game to tell him. Hi, Brent.
You know that on Brent's video podcast next week, you are going to be the topic of conversation for that demeaning comment, Mr. Fallon.
Well, it would be a demeaning comment if it wasn't true, but it is.
I'm sure there's a lot of love. Brent loves the league. If he was to get promoted and get promoted again, he'd be a massive loss.
He would. Yeah.
Matt managed at a massive level, though, hasn't he? You do wonder why over the years he hasn't just
because he is Mr. Bacup.
Yeah, he is. It's yeah. Hey ho. But anyway, good game. If I was at a loose end this weekend, I'd actually consider that. I'd check the weather forecast first as well, mind, but I'd still have a look at it. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Campion before, so they're my second choice for the game of the day. Campion against Steeton, so a local derby, really. There's only 10 miles separate the two teams.
Oh, they're close, are they?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
That's good going.
You got Campion's like just outside Bradford. You got Steeton up there, and I think Ilkley's up towards Steeton way. But yeah, there's only 10 miles separate Campion and Steeton. So Campion, as we know, it's the first North West Counties League campaign after they got laterally moved from the Northern Counties East last year.
So the North West East Counties Football League?
Yeah, whatever it's called. Northern Counties East. It's Northern Counties East.
I think we're going to have to rebrand because we get these clubs in from further and further afield. Won't be long before we're getting clubs from Hull. Bring them on.
Yeah, but they had a bit of a slow start, I feel, as they adjusted to the North West Counties League. But they're up to 10th in the table now, so they seem to have found their feet. They're only 7 points off the playoffs, which we mentioned. But whether they're going to make that top 5, I'm not too sure. There's a lot of good
Campion.
Yeah, there's a lot of good clubs in that mix. Garstang, Chadderton, you just mentioned, Bacup. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I watched them earlier in the season. I was there for the first game away at Garstang, and they looked a bit nervous at times, and I think they lost a lot of players as well because obviously the change of area, so they've had a lot of player turnover. But I saw them obviously at South on Saturday, and they were a really good side. They were organised. They were playing down the flanks. They were creating chances. They didn't really give us a sniff. So. Different side altogether.
You mentioned, the good side. They're on a tremendous run as well. The last 15 games, they've only lost twice, and both of them were against Holker Old Boys. One of them being a midweek away trip to Holker Old Boys, so they could potentially have gone there short. I don't know, but the fact they've only lost 2 out of the last 15, they've scored plenty of goals in those games as well. You've got Mark Ferguson and Daniel Keane, and they're on, I think, 12 and 11 for the season. So, they're on a good run. They're climbing the table. There's no reason why playoffs they can't reach. It's only 8 points away, and they've got, 16 games to play or something like that, 17 games to play. So, yeah. Great. Steeton, they're a little bit further down in the table. In a bit of a rut at the minute, I think. They've lost 6.
They've never really got going, have they?
No, they've lost 6 out of the last 8.
For Roy's side.
They've lost the last 3 games as well. So, and the goals seem to have dried up a little bit as well. They've only scored once in those last 3 games. But, you mentioned Roy Mason there. He's been there and done it. He's been at the helm for 63 years at that club. So
he'll get him going again.
Yeah, he's been there and seen it and done it, and he'll be confident of turning things around. So.
I don't think they're in too much trouble even. No, it's still, as we said last week, it's about getting that points per game up. just to be on the safe side.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my second game of note in the First Division North. So I'll move on to the South. If that's okay with you, Gary?
Absolutely fine, Martin. Please do continue.
I've lost the fixtures now, so I'll have to just get them back up again. Fixtures. So, in the First Division South on Saturday, we have Abbey Hulton United versus Stockport Town, Camel Lern versus Brockton. No, Camel Lern versus Barnton. Two teams that they just look the same amount of letters. Cheadle Town versus Brockton, Eccleshaw versus Roster, Main Road against Abbey Hay, Sandbach United versus West Didsbury and Chorlton, St Martin's versus New Mills, Stafford Town versus Cheadle Heath Nomads, Wythenshawe Amateurs versus Ellesmere Rangers, and FC Isle of Man versus Altage Town. Just before we come on to the game, did you see that in the week? Tuesday night, Stafford Town against Stafford Rangers.
No.
Yeah, in the Staffordshire Senior Cup. So
there's a lot of Stafford going on there.
Yeah, it finished 1-0 to Rangers, but a midweek crowd of 507, which is tremendous.
All right.
Yeah,
that's all right. I like. Was it played at Stafford Rangers ground? Was it?
No, it was at Stafford Town.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So, it's just
money spinner.
Yeah, definitely. And the great crowd, like I say, and they were unlucky, against the team who a bit further up the pyramid than them. I think it's 3 leagues difference, isn't there? So, really good going. I think that'll give them a lot of confidence for the rest of the season. Anyway, your first game, Gary.
Well, for me,
gonna say Stafford Town, now, aren't you?
It's St Martin's versus New Mills for me, Martin.
It begins with S. Anyway.
Yeah, it begins with ST, so it's close. I just wonder about both of these sides. I mean, obviously, both of these sides have got entirely different things to look at the moment. You've got St Martin's who are bottom. I think they, I think minus 98 goal difference, the way off the pace versus New Mills, who are second top and looking to try and take that divisional title. But obviously, they've got to try and catch West Didsbury and Chorlton first. For me, it's an interesting game because I just wonder how long St Martin's are going to plod on. You do wonder, mathematically, it probably isn't too far off now where we can start working out what weekends they could potentially be consigned to the bottom 3, maths-wise.
Yeah.
But they've had so many troubles this season. I think they've had a few different managers as well. They've had quite a squad turnover. I do worry if they're either going to turn it round or wave the white flag at some point. I think they really need to. They need something. I just don't know what it is. I wonder if the managers know what it is.
Well, the manager's just come in, hasn't he? It was his first game last Saturday. So
yeah. Well, it still wasn't a great result for them either.
It wasn't, but it's potential. At most, he's probably had 1 training session. He might not have even had a training session with him. So you need to give Darren a little bit of time and see if he can. The first thing is to stop shipping goals.
Martin's fans watching this, I'm rooting for you, but you've got a job on, and I think that's displayed this weekend in the gulf between St Martin's and New Mills, because obviously New Mills have had a good season all round so far.
It's not a team you want to play as the first game first home game under your new manager, really, is it? New Mills,
no, it's a mammoth task, but I think there'll be a few people with a morbid eye on that game just to see if New Mills heap the misery on, or if St Martin's can topple New Mills. It'd be an interesting one. Question for you, Martin. I'll accept the one-word answer. Do we discuss New Mills not going to the Isle of Man last week?
No, that's not.
So moving swiftly on, I do feel that New Mills will probably win this one. Martin, what's your first choice of game this week?
Just looking at St Martin's, like we said, New Mills, I'm with you on that. I think they'll win that. But after that, Stockport Town at home is winnable. Ellesmere Rangers away. Ellesmere have been struggling. Camel Lern 1907 at home. Lairds have been struggling a little bit lately. And then Brockton at home. So there's some winnable games in the next 6, even if New Mills isn't, in my eyes, one of them.
I think that's one for having a little look on the stats before next week's edition, just to see how far clubs are away from potentially being in real bother and finishing beneath that line, even though we've debated that line a wee bit.
Well, it depends on other leagues as well, really, doesn't it? So where that cut-off point is. But, 2 draws all season and no wins you're well below that line at present. My pick of the games is Sandbach United against West Didsbury and Chorlton. So, Sandbach are in 7th place at the minute. They're 7 points off the Isle of Man, who are in the final the final playoff spot at the minute. That's what I was talking about, relegation. But I still think Sandbach United will fancy themselves to reach the playoffs, to be perfectly honest. They're a team that they're always up there and thereabouts challenging. They've won the First Division trophy a number of times since they've come into the league. And
I'm surprised they've not gone up before now, to be fair. I think they've just been unlucky.
Yeah, I completely agree. They're good at home. They've had 7 wins out of the 12 games. They've lost just 2 at home all season. Bobby McDonnell, he's the leading scorer. He's got 15 in 22. But, you got Matt Pearson, who scored a hat-trick in the last game as well. So, he's on a bit of form. And they're coming into it. They'll fancy themselves. West Didsbury, on the other hand, the league leaders. They're unbeaten all season. 17 wins out of 20 games. They drew the other 3. Is great going. It's phenomenal going. They didn't lose the last game, which is strange saying it. But that was to Hyde United, who were 3 divisions higher than them in the Manchester Premier Cup. And prior to that, they'd won 10 out of the last 11 games. So they're in form. They won Club of the Month in October, and results would suggest that I've not calculated it yet, but results would suggest that they're going to win November's as well. You look at it: 7-0 against St Martin's, 5-0 against Eccleshall. They beat Cheadle, they beat Stockport, and they even beat Prestwich Hayes in the Lancashire Trophy. So they've had a great month again. So, but it's an interesting game for me. Sandbach will definitely be confident of picking up a result there, and I think they need the result more than West Didsbury in order to, try and close the gap on the FC Isle of Man in the playoffs. So yeah, that's my first pick. Second pick for you, Gary.
Funny you should mention FC Isle of Man, Martin, because at 6:30 p.m. on Saturday evening they host Alsager Town. Now, interesting one this for me, because FC Isle of Man are flying. Ever since they got their home games on, they've been like a totally different side. And I think I saw their turning point as well. And ironically, it was an away game at Camel Lairds where they completely dominated the game and that they won it by some margin. But they've certainly found a form. I think they're actually top of the Division 1 South form table as well, ahead of West Didsbury on the current mat and using the normal format. But for me, I think FC Isle of Man, now they found a feet, they're a potential dark. I mean, we said at the start of the season, between us, that there's always one club who decides to fly through and really challenge. And I think that could be FC Isle of Man almost by default. But for me, that looks a massive game against Alsager. And I think Alsager, they're doing 15th in the table, something like that. Again, another club who traditionally are higher up.
Traditionally a Premier Division club, really.
Oh, yeah, at least. I mean, I remember going to watch them in the Northern Premier League or Unibond or whatever it was at the time.
Yeah.
Massive gates as well.
Yeah.
Interesting one for me, but I think they've got a job on. I'll say just they're going to get anything from this game. Massive task. And obviously, we've seen how Isle of Man are at home. It's going to be massive for them.
Yeah, and you just mentioned their home games. They've had 3 home games. They've averaged around 2,000 probably for their home games.
Yeah.
It's tremendous going. It shows you why they came into the pyramid, really.
They did the homework well, didn't they? And there's an appetite for sport on the island as well, so fair play.
Yeah.
Be interested to see what the level, as we were talking about before, is. How far can they go? I think it'd be quite high.
Yeah. Oh, I need to give a shout out to Alan Cowley from the Isle of Man. Hi, Alan. You're going, who's Alan? So basically, he's an old Runcorn player. He came over from the Isle of Man. I think it's 16 years old. Signed from Runcorn, who were in the conference maybe then, or the one just under the conference. And he was a tremendous lad, tremendous player. And when we put the league table up last week, he liked it, and I was thinking, I know that name, and it turned out it was Alan. I've not seen him for like 20 years, but there we go. Still enjoying his football.
I think we're nearly at the end now, Martin, aren't we? So I think you've got a pick left.
Yeah, I have, yeah. Eccleshall against Roster is my second pick, which is a huge game at the wrong end of the First Division South table. It's 18th against 19th, and it's a massive chance really to pick up 3 points for both teams. Eccleshall, they're in 9th place in the form table at the minute, so they're doing okay. They've had 3 wins from the last 6. They had that weird penalty shootout against Port Vale, but they've also beaten Alsager Town and Cheadle Town in the last 6 games. So they're doing something right. It shows you what they can do when they put their minds to it. Really, when it goes right for them. But inconsistency is the key word for Eccleshall. Really, they lost 4-0 at Main Road last time out. The last home game they lost 3-2 to Ellesmere Rangers, who were down there before putting a little bit of a run together. And it's one thing that's really frustrating for them. I'd say they could score goals, as I've said, but out of 22 games this season, they failed to score in 9 of them. So it's a case of if they don't score, you're not going to win. It sounds stupid, but it's fact, isn't it? At the other end, they kept 1 clean sheet in those 22 games, so they're always letting goals in. It's like they need to score 3 in order to pick up the victory, whereas they need to tighten up a bit and not relying on having to score 3 per game to win games. Roster, they're down there in the form guide. They're in 19th place. They've had 4 losses from the last 4 games, so they're not in great form coming into it. They've only won 1 out of the last 9, and overall they're just struggling. They played 23 games. They've only won 4, drew 1. To me, does that highlight how strong the North West Counties League is? When you laterally moved into it, we spoke about Campion about 10 minutes ago, quarter of an hour ago, struggling when they first came into the league to find their feet. Roster have done the same when they came in from the Midland League, when they were laterally moved. And does it show how strong our league is that teams really struggled when they first come into the league? I guess
I think so.
Flip side as well, you look at Hanley. Hanley are flying in the Midland League now, whereas so
you look going back a couple of seasons where we helped Emily out. Emily came in. They weren't overly impressed with being with us, but it took them a season or 2 to acclimatise. They span it round, but they got a bit of momentum going, and they flew out and they went up, which was their overall objective. They couldn't do that in Northern Counties East, but they came in, they strengthened, they beefed up, and they went up, and all the better for it.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes you've got to tip your hat to what's on offer at the North West Counties League. It's a tough league, but we play football. It's not a hoof league. It's not a dainty league either. It's you've got to earn your stripes. But those who do come in, when they do find their feet, they seem to be better for it.
Yeah. One thing I said I wrote down here, I'm just going to throw it out to you, Gary.
By the way,
looking at the league table at the minute, Skelmersdale top, Maxfield second, Withenshaw third, Charnock fourth, Burscough fifth, Lower Breck sixth, Avro seventh. So 5 out the top 7 have got 3G pitches.
Ooh, good stats.
Skelmersdale,
Excellent
Macclesfield.
stat.
Yeah. First goal over Brett Avro. Does it have an advantage?
Maybe it does.
I've always thought it does. You know, ever since sort of Widnes came through the division from nowhere, you know, they won the first, got promotion from the first, they got promotion from the Premier, and that was all to do with home form. They rarely lost at home because, you know, there's 2 goals up before people get to grips with the pitch. And to me, it's
let me flip this one. Let me flip this one back at you. Other teams train. Most teams train on a 3G pitch.
You do, yeah.
So what's the difference?
It's training, isn't it? You do specific things in training.
Yeah. You're refining your skills. You're getting your tactics up. You know what you're doing. You know, there's no dodgy bouncers. You're not falling into molehills and so on. You know exactly what you're getting. So I think that's a cracking stat. But I don't know the reason behind it. I couldn't pin it down.
I think it also it potentially loses something with so many having 3G pitches. It levels the playing field out a little bit now.
Yeah. I do like going to clubs with a grass pitch. You know, over the years. I mean, I can't talk. Our club's got a 3G, but you know, it's you go to the likes of your Bakeups and Chaddons and so on, and other clubs, and you see it playing on grass. You know, you got the turf flying up here, there, and everywhere, and so on. There's something about it. You know,
I understand that, but it's like if you go to Macclesfield and Avro, you know, they're like your more traditional grounds which have had a 3G fitted into them.
Yeah. And those pitches will be earning money all week as well, won't they? You know,
further up, you look at Hyde United. I've been to there this season, and you know that's a traditional ground with a new 3G on it. And if it's done right, like it is at Macclesfield and at Avro and at Hyde, then it can work. It could,
agreed.
You know, like you say, you renting it out every week. All your teams are training on it. You're playing on it. You can get your kids involved. You can get the community involved with like walking football and disability football and stuff. And it's a tremendous asset to the community.
Yeah, agreed.
Really.
I think there's something in that warrants investigation in comparison to the other divisions. That's your little pet project for him midweek.
I've got a busy week coming up.
No, I know where you're coming from.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it from us. So thank you for taking the time to defer your tea and join me, Gary.
Always a pleasure, never a chore.
I've got to go and pick up a parcel from the Amazon.
I think everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah,
I've been living in the
locker.
Amazon locker around by my neck of the woods.
Yeah, so you only have 2 days to pick it up and to send it back for a refund. So I need to get it before tomorrow. So
you'd better get flying on that one.
Yeah, so I've got stuff in the fridge, but it might be a chicken kebab on the way home, to be perfectly honest.
Make sure you pick it up and don't do what I've tried to do and order it in. As they're still waiting to deliver my order. I won't shine that too bad because people know where I live then. But I'm still waiting on the said tea. That wasn't Uber Eats that knocked before, by the way.
Wasn't it?
No, so I've now been waiting 1 hour 36 minutes
on
the delivery of my emergency burger. And of course, with these apps, it's very hard to even cancel the order. So, hey ho. So that might be my move as well. I might be nipping out to one of my local establishments to order in person, pay with good old-fashioned cash, and receive my goods over the counter. Back up in the future.
Yeah, can't go wrong with it.
No, exactly. Right.
Well,
and hit that subscribe button, whatever that is as well.
Didn't figure out. Did you like?
Let's get it set up for Alex.
Did you like did you like the intro, the intro music and stuff?
So posh.
I know it's good on it. It just threw that together. It's quite amazing.
Just something I threw together before we put it on. Yeah.
So happy with it.
It looks smart, and obviously there'll be a lot more content video based, not just previews and so on. There'll be all sorts going on as well. We could do maybe getting some interviews on as well. It could be a little project for Alex and Jay, maybe, or maybe even ourselves if we're feeling creative and so on. But it seems to be working. It's reaching an audience, and people tend to like it. So I've
got my to-do list here, which is basically rewrite the website so it doesn't crash on a Saturday. I think
Good
most
luck with
people.
that.
I think most people want me to do that. To be honest.
Yeah, that might go down really, really well. That might be like some people's Christmas present.
Yeah, it will be. I'm just not saying what year.
No, don't overcommit. Right, yep. Martin, you go and get your parcel. I'm going to go and get my tea.
Thank you for thank you for joining me. Thanks to everyone for watching. Enjoy your game wherever you're off to this weekend. Subscribe, like Gary says. Hit the bell to get notifications. And just enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next Friday. Bye.